everyone, and welcome to Freedom of Voices. I'm your host, Angeline R. Takulod. Today, we're diving into two most important documents in Philippine history, the Kartilya ng Katipunan and the Proclamation of the Philippine Independence. These documents tell the story of who we were, what we fought for, and who we wanted to become. But we won't stop there. We'll also compare them with an older source, Pigafetta's Chronicle, to see how perspectives on our history have changed over time. Let me introduce my groupmates.
Hi, I am Chloe, and I'll be talking about the Kartilya ng Katipunan.
Hi, I'm Jay Jonko Era, and now I'll discuss the Proclamation of Philippine Independence.
And I'm Janine Sarah Levine. I compare these sources with Pigafetta's account and share why they still matter today.
Let's begin. Presenter 1, let's start with the Kartilya. What is it exactly?
The Kartilya ng Katipunan is a set of rules or teachings written by Emilio Jacinto in 1892. It served as a guidebook for members of the Katipunan.
Who was Emilio Jacinto?
He was only 20 years old when he wrote it. Imagine that, a 20-year-old shaping the moral foundation of a revolution. He was from Tondo, Manila, and was studying law at the University of Santo Tomas when he joined the Katipunan.
So, he was young but brilliant.
Exactly. Andres Bonifacio trusted him completely. Jacinto became the secretary of the Katipunan and edited their newspaper, Kalayaan.
What was happenings in the Philippines at that time?
The 1890s were a time of great suffering. Spain had ruled us for over 300 years. Filipinos were treated as second-class citizens. There was a racial system, Peninsularis at the top, Indios at the bottom.
What does Indio mean?
That was the Spanish word for native Filipinos. It was meant to be insulting. No matter how smart or hardworking you were, you could not rise above your race.
That's terrible.
It was. And on top of that, there was forced labor called polo y servicios. Filipinos were made to work without pay. There were unfair taxes. The Spanish friars controlled everything: land, government, even education.
So, the Katipunan was formed to fight against all of these.
Yes, Andres Bonifacio founded the Katipunan in 1892. But they didn't just want fighters. They wanted members with good morals. That's why the Kartilya was so important.
What are some of its teachings?
First, it teaches that all people are equal. Rich or poor, educated or not, everyone deserves respect. This was a radical idea because Spanish society was all about hierarchy.
That's powerful.
Second, it teaches respect for women. Women should not be treated as objects. They deserve dignity. That was very progressive for its time.
Even for today, to be honest.
Right. Third, it teaches love for country. Members must be willing to sacrifice personal comfort for the nation. They must be honest, brave, and selfless.
What other important teaching can we find in the Kartilya?
One teaching from the Kartilya written by Emilio Jacinto says that a person with a truly noble character helps others without expecting anything in return. True goodness is shown through actions, not just words.
That's a powerful reminder.
Yes, Because the Kartilya of the Katipunan was not only about fighting for independence, it was also teaching members to become disciplined, moral, and responsible citizens.
So the Kartilya wasn't just about revolution, it was about becoming better people.
Exactly. It thought that freedom is not just about removing Spanish rule. It's about becoming the kind of people who deserve to be free.
Now, let's move to our second source. Presenter 2, tell us about the Proclamation of Philippine Independence.
Proclamation of Philippine Independence happened on June 12, 1898 in Kawit, Cavite. It was led by General Emilio Aguinaldo.
What was happening at that time?
By 1898, the Philippine Revolution had been going on for 2 years, but there was also a war between Spain and the United States, the Spanish-American War. The American Navy defeated the Spanish fleet in Manila Bay.
So, they thought America was an ally.
Yes, and Aguinaldo, who had been in exile in Hong Kong, returned to the Philippines. He renewed the revolution. Filipino forces freed many towns from Spanish control.
Then came June 12.
Yes, on that day, Aguinaldo declared that the Philippines was now independent. It was a formal ceremony. For the first time, the Philippine flag was raised.
Tell us about that flag.
The flag was made in Hong Kong by Marcela Agoncillo, her daughter Lorenza, and Delfina Herbosa de Natividad, who was Jose Rizal's niece. It has a white triangle for equality, a sun with 8 rays for the first 8 provinces that fought Spain, and 3 stars for Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
What about the national anthem?
It was played for the first time that day. Julian Felipe composed it. It was called Marcha Pilipina Magdalo, later renamed Lupang Hinirang.
So it was a big celebration.
Yes, it was. The Act of the Declaration of Independence was read. It listed the abuses of the Spanish government. It said the Philippines had the right to be free.
But here's my question. If we declared independence in 1898, why did America end up colonizing us?
That's the complicated part. The proclamation actually thanked America for helping. It mentioned Admiral Dewey in a positive way.
So, they thought America was an ally.
Exactly. But later that year, the Treaty of Paris was signed. Spain sold the Philippines to America for $20 million. Filipinos were not asked.
So we went from one colonizer to another.
Sadly, yes, and that led to the Philippine-American War, which was even more brutal.
Were there any other issues with the proclamation?
Yes, first, it was written in Spanish. Most ordinary Filipinos could not read it. So, who was the real audience? Probably other countries to get recognition.
Good point.
Second, the people who signed were mostly wealthy, educated Filipinos, the elite. The common people who fought in the revolution were not well represented.
So, it was more of an elite declaration.
Some historians would say that, but despite these issues, June 12 is still important. It was the first time we declared ourselves as a nation. It gave Filipinos a sense of identity and pride.
Now, presenter 3. Let's compare these documents with another source.
Yes, to look at Fagopeta's chronicle, Antonio Fagopeta was an Italian scholar who joined Ferdinand Magellan's expedition. They arrived in the Philippines in 1521.
So, this is one of the earliest written records about the Philippines.
Exactly. Fagopeta wrote about what he saw, the people, their costumes, their way of life. It's valuable because it shows us pre-colonial Philippines.
But there's a problem, right?
Yes, Fagopeta was a foreigner. He was writing for a European audience. So he described Filipinos as natives and their practices as strange. He saw everything through European eyes.
So, it's not really a Filipino perspective.
No, it's not. Now, compare that with the Kartilya and the Proclamation.
What's the main difference?
The Kartilya was written by a Filipino for Filipinos. It doesn't describe us from the outside. It tells us how to live from the inside. It's about our values, our identity.
And the Proclamation,
Also written by Filipinos. It declares that we are a nation. It doesn't ask for permission. It states a fact.
So one is about us, the other is by us.
That's the key. Fagapeta wrote about Filipinos. Jacinto and Aguinaldo wrote as Filipinos. There's a huge difference between being the subject of history and being the author of your own history.
So, when Filipinos started writing their own documents, they were taking control of their own story.
Exactly. And that's revolutionary in itself. The act of writing your own declaration, your own moral code, that's a form of freedom.
Okay, these documents are over 100 years old. And why we should care about them now?
Because the values in the Kartilya are still needed today. Equality. We still have a gap between rich and poor. Look at how some people are treated just because they have less money.
respect for women, we still have issues with discrimination and violence against women. The Kartilya remind us that women deserve dignity.
Honesty in government? We see corruption everywhere. Leaders stealing money meant for the poor. The Kartilya said that leaders should serve, not steal.
So the Kartilya is like a mirror.
Yes, it shows us what we should be striving for.
And the Proclamation, what does it teach us today?
It reminds us that freedom is not permanent. We have to protect it every day.
Can you give an example?
Think about the West Philippine Sea. Other countries are taking our resources. Can we truly say we are independent if we can't defend our own territory?
And what about OFWs? Millions of Filipinos working abroad because there are no jobs here. Is that a freedom?
That's a hard question.
It is. But these documents force us to ask these questions. Our heroes died so we could be free. What are we doing with that freedom?
Another lesson from the Proclamation is to be careful about foreign influence. In 1898, Filipinos thought America was helping them. But America became the new colonizer.
So, we should be careful about depending too much on other countries.
We should make decisions that are best for Filipinos, not for foreign interests.
So these documents are not just old papers. They speak to us today.
Exactly. They challenge us to be better citizens.
We're almost out of time. Let's summarize what we learned today.
The Kartilya ng Katipunan was written by Emilio Jacinto in 1892. It taught values like equality, respect for women, love of country, and honesty. It gave the revolution a moral foundation.
The Proclamation of the Philippines' independence was declared on June 12, 1898 by Emilio Aguinaldo. It was the first time we declared ourselves as a nation. Despite its contradictions, it remains a symbol of our desire for freedom.
When we compare this with Pagapeta's Chronicle, we see the difference between being written about and writing your own history. The Kartilya and the Proclamation show Filipinos taking control of their own story.
And these documents remain relevant today. They remind us of the values we should uphold and the freedom we must protect.
They ask us, what kind of Filipino are you?
Are you honest? Do you treat others with respect? Do you love your country?
Are you protecting the freedom that our heroes fought for?
Let's honor them by being better citizens. Thank you for listening to Freedom of Voices. Until next time!
Kung sino ka man talaga, Pinoy, ikaw ay Pinoy.